not having that structure that you're used to after so long in the military, that finally I couldn't take it anymore.
Bringing you in Patrick Schlepler, and he's walking us through how he's taken the principles through his years in the Marine Corps, his years being a director of HR, and now out being a coach, coaching small businesses on HR practices, business practices, leadership principles. It'll be a fun, great conversation, so tune in, enjoy, let me know what you think. Is brought to you by my friends over at Point Blank Safety Services. These are armed service guards that are all off-duty police officers. So think about it. If you ever need a security guard for your construction site, for intersection light control, lane closures on the freeways, trade shows, loss prevention, retail and bank security, wouldn't you love to have it protected by a bunch of off-duty trained officers? We all know that these guys are all looking for additional incomes to help them as they go about their career protecting our lives. Well, what a better way than to create a business, create a job that allows them to make money in their off time. So if you ever in need, check out Point Blank Safety Service at pointblanksafety.com. All right, guys, so here we go. I'm bringing you Patrick Schlepler. New to the consulting world, new to the coaching world, but been in the game of helping people for quite a while. So I'm really looking forward to bringing him into this episode, letting him share his story with you and walk you through his journey. So, Patrick, welcome to the show, brother. Tell us a little bit about your world, your journey. Who the hell are you?
Hey, Donnie, I appreciate you having me on today. So a little background about myself. Did 14 years in the Marine Corps, got out of there. Went into the nonprofit sector as a director of human resources. Totally not the right place for me. You know, going from being around a bunch of Marines and military to it was 90% social workers. Not the best career choice. Great people, just, you know, a little different. So from there, I went and worked in a manufacturing facility as a general manager, and my wife and I launched a business for her, and I finally decided I had enough, and it was time to get in business for myself so I could truly help people the way I wanted.
Nice.
So here I am. That's it.
Nice. So you did 14 years in the Marine Corps. What did you do while you were in?
I started off in a FAST team, an anti-terrorism security team. From there, I went to 1st Marine Division schools and then spent about 9 years of it on recruiting duty as a career recruiter. So going around running recruiting stations, working at MEPS, doing all the fun stuff that most of the civilians hate. Right.
And then you got medically discharged. Was that after deployment or before? Did you get deployed at all?
On recruiting duty, started having some heart issues and some things like that. So it took good care of me. The VA's been taking really good care of me. So it's been, you know, it really helped me to launch my business that way, being able to count on my disability check and that type of stuff to get me through as a launch.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then you go from the military to be an HR. That had to be a hell of a transition, man. I mean, I can tell you I have a lot of HR friends, and I've spoken in a lot of, you know, HR associations and stuff. But, you know, the caveat before I usually walk on the room or in, you know, anywhere else is, look, we're bringing up a former Marine. It's going to be salty. So, you know, throw some of your HR regulations out the window. So walk me through, you know, kind of that experience of what it was like to make that transition.
It was hard, you know, getting out. Especially not having planned to get out at that time, it was a little different. My degree I got while I was in my bachelor's degree in business administration. But luckily what helped me out a lot was the recruiting side of the military and going out and giving the presentations and being around, you know, high school students and teachers and all these other various community members where I had to watch myself a lot more than I would if I was just, you know, back on the block with a bunch of Marines and everything.
Right.
But yeah, it was challenging. I mean, they couldn't have been a more different group that I went from being around the Marines to being around, you know, all these social workers whose views were I mean, we joke around a lot in the military, as you know, about various things that we probably shouldn't joke around about. And, we think nothing of it, and, it's the exact opposite for them. They take it very seriously, more liberal than what I was used to, and really had to watch myself there. But it was such a great place to work. I really did enjoy it. It was just a big transition from what I was used to.
Right. So you're doing the HR thing. You're having to learn that the way we talked in the Corps is not translating well to the civilian sector, because you already said there's shit we talk about that, you probably really shouldn't talk about. But when you throw 50 guys and gals from 50 different states in one room, no holds barred. I mean, at that point, to put it into perspective, what were you doing as an HR? Were you actually fulfilling HR functions, or what capacity did you have there?
Yeah, I was a director of human resources, so I was in charge of making the recruiting, hiring plan, sending in on interviews, anything HR related, benefits management, all that type of stuff. So it was really fulfilling the entire HR department. We did have one other HR person that was under me, but it was the full spectrum HR, everything you could think of.
Was there a breaking point that you were like, okay, I'm done doing this, or was this just the natural kind of next step for you?
Talking about when I left there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it because I was one of two guys that worked at this nonprofit out of quite a few females that were there. And there's a lot of things that were just left to you. Oh, he'll do it. Paperwork-wise, everything. And I was not a fan of not meeting deadlines and those type of things. And deadlines there just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. So, I talked to the executive director. We sat down, discussed, I need something a little more structured, that type of thing. And she was very supportive, very understanding. So I decided to give her, I think it was a month's notice that I gave there. That way they could find a replacement, be seamless. I was just not having that structure that you're used to after so long in the military, that finally I couldn't take it anymore. And I needed somewhere that if I'm a director of human resources, I should be able to make director level decisions, not have to run my decisions by every single person that type of way.
Right. Now you're out on your own. You took the crazy-ass leap saying, okay, I'm going to be this business owner / entrepreneur / consultant / what the hell am I doing with my life, guy, helping companies set up their HR departments and everything else. What's that transition been like?
It's been interesting. So I joined a coaching club where they help me out, give me direction, those different type of things. And one of the things that I've gotten out of that is every day on my LinkedIn and on my Facebook, I put out what I call the Leadership Minute, where I give help and advice on a different leadership topic throughout the day. That's one thing I never thought I would do. It doesn't earn me any money or anything in return, but I think it's something, I normally put it out at 7:30. People hop on, view it, get excited, get ready to go for the day. But on top of that, through that coaching group, I've now started to develop a series of leadership books. They're about 30 pages, so they're short leadership books, because I don't know about you, but if I get reading anything more than 30 pages, I'm going to close the book and walk away. So nice short books that walk you through. It can be somebody who's starting out, who's never been a leader before, aspires to be one. So the first book in this series is actually called A Pocket Guide to Leadership Development. And it'll walk all the way through this series of 10 different books to somebody who's had years and years of experience, because you should always be evolving as a leader. And if you're someone who thinks your leadership is good and doesn't need any improvement, well, then you need to reevaluate yourself. So taking that leap has allowed me to do things I've never thought about before.
Walk me through it. What are some of those things?
Writing that book. So we'll be having that actually come out the 26th of June. That one will be out. I wrote another book that was called Setting Goals. That one was published last month. Doing these videos every day, the Leadership Minute. all those type of things I never thought I'd be doing. I've recently contracted with Fred Pryor as supplemental income in the meantime. So I go around for them and give seminars a few times a month. So just different various things that get me out, get me traveling, just get me to meet different people, because that's what it's all about for me, is meeting people, helping them out, and really just satisfying what needs I can.
And is that what your main key focus is actually working on the leadership side of things and grooming leaders, or what is the overall functions?
Yeah, so even with the HR side, what I focus more on is turnover rates. So that comes out to the average company has a turnover rate of 19%. So when I go and talk into a company, you're talking a 19% turnover rate. If it's a company that's got 100 people, they generally have about $60,000 they spend in turnover a year, training new employees, hiring them, all this different stuff. So what ends up happening is 75% of people that voluntarily leave their job do so because they're a direct supervisor. And what's that a result of? People who get put in leadership positions out in the civilian world generally don't get any leadership training until at least 2 years in a management position. So we can literally shave off thousands of dollars for a company just by going in, developing leadership programs for them, conducting leadership training, evaluations, all these different things that we can do that can barely easily cut down on turnover, increase the morale of the company culture, all these different things. So it's mainly about the leadership, but it's helping a company save money and making it better for the employees there.
Nice. And then what experiences, for you led you to this spot? Was it your years in the Marine Corps? Was it the HR company? Where's all this knowledge come from?
I've been very fortunate. It's a combination of all three. Much like anybody who was in the military, I like to think that I had really good leaders while I was in. Taught me some really great lessons. When I got out, I got to see firsthand both the nonprofit sector and the private sector, and really got to see the turnover rates were astronomical. Both companies didn't even know what their turnover rates were. They just knew they were spending all this money trying to find people, had no idea how to help themselves. So doing those things really got me thinking, there's such a huge need. How can I fill that need? How can I help these companies out? That's when I drew back on my leadership through the Marine Corps, some of my bachelor's degree, my master's degree. I finished in December. That's in human resources. So all these components I was able to pull together, create different leadership programs, seminars, trainings, and all this stuff to help them fulfill their needs.
Nice. And, you haven't been doing the consulting for very long, and that's not me busting my chops, but I know when I put my shingle up, there's a lot of that quick roller coaster. Some of the things you run through is like, oh, shit, where do I get a client at? Where are you at as that you put this all up and, you're beginning the journey? Yeah,
that's hard. I was speaking with a friend of mine who's a coach and consultant, and he was like, yeah, what's your plan? I'm like, well, hey, if I've got a couple clients in 6 months, I'll be happy. He was like, okay. He's like, if you have three clients in 6 months, I'll be happy for you. He's like, it's hard. Just keep on the grind, keep doing what you do, and it'll eventually work itself out. I mean, that's one of the big things when you're going after, mid-sized businesses, larger businesses. It's going to take a while to make this stuff happen. And it's easy to get frustrated right off the bat. I mean, you went through it. You know exactly how it goes. You can be making all those phone calls you want, stopping by, taking people out to lunch all the time. But it's going to take you building that bond with somebody, facilitating the trust, and really them feeling like you're the right person for the job. And that takes time.
How many companies are you stacked up with now? I mean, I know for like me, I'll handle anywhere between 6 and 15 clients at a time, just depending on, what all I'm doing with that company or business. Have you found that sweet spot for you yet as far as how many clients you can manage, or is that still part of the learning process?
No, that's going to be part of the learning process. And a lot of that has to do with me working with the Fred Pryor company right now. Is I'm supplementing them a few times a month to help me, bring in some of that residual income until I really get this thing off the ground. So once things start becoming more stable, I bring in, hopefully 6 clients right about there is when I'm going to take it full time away from Fred Pryor even to really just focus on, okay, how many can I handle? Like you said, what's that sweet spot for me?
Right. And how are you going about getting clients nowadays? I mean, because I got a lot of coaches that listen to this show, and some are struggling, with how do I find clients? How do I bring on new business? What are some of the tips and tricks that you're using now to bring on new business?
Networking. Using those videos that I upload every day, that's really helped me a lot. The average one right now is getting 100 and some views. When I first started them a couple weeks ago, it was like 30. That presence is growing. My name's getting out there that way. Talking to people, every single networking event that's within my town or an hour, I try to be at. Shake hands, tell everybody who I am, what I do. And most importantly is when I meet these individuals, not try to sell them on anything. Simply, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Because if I can't, maybe I can't come in and do consulting for you, but if I help you in some way, maybe when you know somebody that needs a consultant or is having issues with employee turnover, you'll refer me out. So again, if you can't make a sale, make a friend, and that's my motto. And networking is where it's at. It's hard making those phone calls. When I was a general manager, I wouldn't take any of them. I'd just have my secretary write a note, and then I'd pick the note up and throw it in the trash. So I'm not a big fan of cold calling anymore, but I'll still do it on occasion. But where I've had the most success right now is networking.
When you land a client, are you taking them through a strategic process? Is it let's figure out what you need and build a customized program? What's kind of your delivery method?
Yeah, so I'll meet with them, about a 30-minute consultation, just kind of see what's going on. And it's going to depend on how the in-depth knowledge they have of their company. Like I said, some companies don't even know what their turnover rate is. They just know they pay a lot of money for turnover. So I'll create a plan all the way from getting their turnover rate to what's attributing to it. Are they doing exit interviews? What's the culture like? I'll speak to some of their employees if they let me. And then from there, I'll develop a personalized training program based off of what they're looking for. Are they looking for leaders that they want to be more hands-on? Or are they looking for leaders that, a plant manager that just goes out into the shop every once in a while? Really try and tailor it and customize it to the company, because you're not going to use the same type of leadership for every scenario. And they know their company best, so by them telling me what it's going to be like, I have a better chance to go in and develop a true training program that'll fit their needs.
When you're working with these teams, walk us through some of the leadership programs and teaching that you teach. So you got a book out. What are some of the principles that you're teaching out of that?
One of the biggest things that I've found is, one, the way that the employees are treated. There's a separation between management and the hourly employees. So what I like to do is I like to sit down and talk to them about the importance of those employees. A lot of times they, being the management, think, oh, whatever, we can just replace them. But I walk them through what can happen with just a small increase in productivity. So, an example, we walked through a company the other day, and if we just increased their productivity by 5%, they ended up having about a $60,000 increase that they can have and funneled through sales. So they're just like, okay, how do we get this 5%, which isn't much of an increase? So we sat down and brainstormed ideas. Then from there, we did a SWOT analysis, so the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of doing those. And we came up with some strategic ideas of how we could implement some change for them. So it's working with those managers. It's getting their input as well and guiding that discussion for them. Because, again, they're going to know what works in their environment.
Right. Yeah, I had a privilege this morning. Goodwill Industries is a client of mine that I've been working with on and off for this year. And they brought me in this morning to speak on ownership. I think a lot of people struggle with, how do they take ownership? And then I came up with a fun acronym, which was just using the word own, which is operating with no excuses. Do you bring that kind of structure and teaching into your leadership program? Teaching people to own their own work, their own principles, their own business, their own life. Do you touch on that at all?
Yeah, so what needs to happen is they need to understand, and this is a big thing that managers have a problem with too, especially new managers, is taking responsibility, whether it's good or bad for their team or their project. So one of the principles that I really stress on, if your project misses a deadline, it's not because somebody was late, it's not because somebody didn't do their work, it's because you allowed it. It's the same thing in the military, or as the boss, as a staff sergeant, whatever you want to call it. So that's one of the big things they need to realize, and it's not just them. That's all the way up to the senior level managers will say, oh, well, I didn't get this done because the project manager didn't do what he needed to do. Well, again, it's his direct supervisor. You're in charge. What did you do? All right, let's walk it back. How can we fix this next time? What lessons did we learn? Most walk right into the next project, already making the exact same mistakes that they made. So
Right.
we look for, we identify those problems, and then we train to those problems.
What's some of the success stories you've had with clients so far? You still building those out, or do you already have like some breakthrough moments?
We're still building some of them out. We did have a food truck that I worked with, a great couple. They actually increased their revenue. We went from, I helped them build a business plan, and they went from just a small concession trailer to an actual food truck. Doubled the revenue. They were the rib winners down here at our county fest, so it's kind of cool. But like I said, we're still building those, and 3-4 weeks in here, I don't think we're doing too bad on them yet. We've got a few on.
Nice. So where's all this taking you? I mean, you've done quite a bit. You were crazy enough to start your own business and throw up your own shingle and go. So you've got a kind of a fun journey. Where's all this taking you? What's next on the horizon? I mean, are you going to be the next Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Gary Vee, or are you going to be, Patrick Schlepler, the leadership guy?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way I look at it as no matter what I'm doing 5-10 years from now, I want to help people. I don't know if I'll ever be a Tony Robbins or this big leadership guru. That'd be great. But no matter where I am, as long as I'm out helping companies, help them save money, create a company culture that is conducive for positive employees, that's what I'm looking for. The more successful, the better. But at the same time, I'm in a position now where my quality of life is very important to me. Spending time with my family is very important to me. I will take quality clients over quantity clients anytime.
Your wife has her own business as well. What does she do?
She owns a dog grooming business. So she opened that in January. So we were crazy enough to open 2 businesses within 6 months.
Right. How's that working out?
Dog grooming business is working out great. She entered the market at an amazing time. 5 years, I think it was. Closed down, left a vacuum. My wife came right in and sucked up all those other clients. And then there's another dog grooming shop that the lady's retiring at about 10 minutes down the road. So she's sending her clients in. And so it's going really well. Enough that I can really focus on doing this. So it's great.
Nice. And then what's it like having 2 entrepreneurs under the same roof?
She's more successful than me right now, so she loves it. It's really great. We have 5 children, so it's crazy at our house.
Wait, how many?
We have 5.
Didn't somebody tell you how that stuff works?
We got that fixed finally, so that's all right. But we with the 5 kids and with her owning her own business, me owning my business. It can be a challenge. She can be gone working, or I'll be in my office working all the time, or out trying to visit clients and get clients. And, who's going to pick up the kids? Well, I've got a dog that's coming in I need to groom. And I'm out seeing a client. Her parents have been very helpful in watching the kids when we need it. When we come home, the kids aren't too crazy, so they help with some of the chores when needed. And the biggest thing that we found for us is we need to plan to have time to spend together. Right. So at the end of the day, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, we always need to spend some time together. And then I get up and go to the gym at 6, and then from 7 to 8, me and her always spend from 7 to 8 together, drinking some coffee, hanging out, talking, that type of stuff.
And why did you guys determine that was such a key factor to the success of this?
I mean, it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own businesses and get to the point where, you know, it's such a struggle. You start worrying about finances and all these different things that you start failing to communicate. And we wanted to attack these as a united front. And the best way to do that is make sure we communicate, spend time together. I never want, we've talked about this multiple times, her and I, we never want to, quote unquote, bring our work home with us. Even though I work from home, I never want to walk outside of my office and have to, you know, be in a bad mood because something didn't go right at work or anything along those lines. So that's why we blocked off these different times, so we can make sure no matter what, we leave everything at the door, let's spend time together, be a family, reinforce our relationship and those values, and really just try and be a good example for the kids.
And how are the kids taking it? I mean, you know, they went from a little bit more structured environment to now in the last 6 months, both mom and dad are running 100 miles an hour like chickens with their head cut off, getting their businesses up and running. How's the kids doing?
They love it. The kids go to the grooming shop sometimes with the wife and help out with the dogs. Her parents' house is a block down the road, so they'll walk over and see them. Or if they're sitting here with me, my little one, 2 years old, always try and run in and sit on my lap while I'm on video conferences. So
right.
Luckily she's grandma's right now for this one. But they love it. I mean,
well, come on. She could be your mascot. You know, she becomes your new logo.
She was in my last, not today's video, but I think yesterday's video as my secretary. So.
That's awesome.
They love it. I mean, I'm around more. The wife can take off time whenever she needs, can go to whatever games. They've got football, baseball, soccer, anything like that. We can take off and we can work our schedules around that. We just took a vacation to Universal Studios for about a week and a half with all the kids. So these are things we're able to do now because we don't have to worry about putting in and not having enough PTO time or vacation time or anything like that. So the kids love that.
I think a lot of people are looking at that as they're trying to jump into the entrepreneurial journey is, you know, they can work when they want to, they can take off where they want to. You know, how are you guys structuring that time to still grow your businesses? Because I think a lot of people get that mix all screwed up. Well, we can work whenever we want to, so I'm going to get up at noon, and then I'm going to be done at 2 o'clock. I mean, how are you guys handling that?
Business is going to be done in the first 6 months.
Right.
A big thing, and this is one of the leadership classes that I give to the different companies and things. So I, every night, will develop my plan for the next day. So I'll break it down by every hour of what I'm going to do. Okay, 6 o'clock, going to the gym, 7 o'clock, blah, blah, all the way until 9 o'clock at night. And then on the right-hand side, I'll write down what I'm doing throughout the day to see if I stay on task or not. But really, I have to make a plan throughout the day, or it's so easy to get stuck in that mindset of, well, I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself. Nobody can tell me what to do. You know, what'll happen? Oh, I'll get up at 11, I'll go mow the lawn, and then I'll come inside, and, you know, then I'll watch TV for a little bit. You know, you get stuck in that mode, and it's going to be quick that your business fails.
Right.
So what I like to do is I like to do what's called 60-40-10, or 60-30-10, sorry. So I like to put 60% of my time as being productive, out talking to a client, out anything to do that in the long run is going to make me money. And then I like to have 30% of my time be supportive, which is, you know, driving to go see individuals, anything that's going to help me to talk to somebody to be productive. And then 10% of the time, I like to have be unproductive. Because if you don't plan for it, what I found is throughout the day, you're going to have a whole lot more than 10% of unproductive time just because you didn't plan for it.
Right.
Just like, oh, well, I can take 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there and 10 minutes here. And before you know it, you're looking back thinking, wow, I was really busy today, and 3 hours you didn't do anything.
Right. I talk to a lot of young coaches as they're starting out their business, and I say young in tenure, not age. But one of the things they seem to struggle with is what to do with their time. how do they handle their day? And it's not so much that they're trying to take off work, is they're not necessarily prioritizing the things to grow their business. You know, some coaches are content creators and they love just developing new content. Some are the super networkers that don't know how to sell and close their business and get new revenues coming in. Some are so focused on the marketing and the social media. Where are you finding your unique balance and blend to merge all of these paths to make sure your company stays productive?
That goes into that 60% that I look out throughout the day. So I'll plan out of that my networking events. I try and do 50-50. If I can get out 50% of the time and go find people, shake their hands at Myers and see what they're doing, you know, anybody that I run into. And the other 50% of that right now is on social media. So I try and make sure I maintain a good split, because social media and everything is great, but nothing is the same as if you go up and you shake that person's hand, you say hi, have a smile, and really make that personal connection.
Right. No, that's huge. As you continue moving on with all this and as you're moving forward and you're figuring out this game, do you really see yourself niching down into particular industries, or are you going to maintain that kind of jack of all trades type coaching practice?
Ultimately, I like to be in the manufacturing facilities. I think there is, I'm from Michigan, so there's a lot of it around, and I think it is a big area where just a little bit of employee improvement could significantly help those industries retaining their key employees. Right now, a lot of them will lose them to their different competitors. So just some little subtle things that could help them significantly. So I'd like to be in that market. Another one is the nonprofit market, only because, there's not a lot of people that are willing to help them. Coaches make pretty good money for the most part, and a lot of nonprofits can't afford that. So I would love to go out and help some of those nonprofits as well.
Nice. What's the biggest advice you'd give somebody as they're jumping into their coaching practice and getting ramped up? What's the thing you would tell them?
There's going to be, when you first start out, 90% of the time where it sucks. Just because, it's going to be hard. A lot of people are going to slam the door in their face. The biggest thing is you've now decided after however long to finally go after your dream. Don't let somebody talk you out of it. I don't care if it's family, if it's friends. If it's you go for a client meeting and the client says you're the biggest idiot in the world. Who cares what they say? Stay the path. Don't give in. That's the biggest piece of advice I could say to them.
I love that. Because a lot of people do get stacked up against it, and it's tough because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, it gets lonely out there. So it's got to be some compensation for you to have your wife going through and know some of the battles you're going through. That's got to help tremendously. What's probably the biggest lesson you've learned in life so far, whether it's on this coaching journey, your Marine Corps journey? What's one of those things that's happened that you go, I'm so glad that happened because it taught me this?
I really think it's the value of leaning on your support group and having that firm support group there. Again, you just mentioned my wife going through the same type of stuff. Her support has been amazing. I talk about family and stuff like that may be against you doing something like this. I was a general manager at a manufacturing facility making very good money. And when I told them, hey, I'm going to leave and do this coaching thing, by the way, I don't have anybody lined up right now, so it'll be a while before I get a paycheck. They thought I was crazy. They thought I was stupid, told me I was stupid. And then my wife sat down and said, I am glad you're finally doing something that's going to make you happy. She's like, we'll get it figured out in the meantime. And just that conversation, those words right there just made me think, you know what, I'm absolutely doing the right thing. So leaning on that support group that you have, surround yourself with excellent people.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a lot of people on the podcast, and one of the things that comes up as a reoccurring theme is, you become your influences. So whatever you're reading, whatever you're listening to, who you're surrounding yourself with, all those things are feeding your subconscious, feeding who you are, and shaping who you are. So if you don't have that solid base of people who are your cheerleaders help pushing you on, it makes this a very tough game to excel at, push yourself beyond, and grow. Do you see you and your wife, as you go on through this journey, continuing down these paths? I mean, is this the retirement plan for the two of you, or is this just one step on the path to somewhere?
This is absolutely what she wants to do until she's done. As for me, this is what I want to do too. I want to help people, and I think this is the best way I can. I've got a lot of leadership experience, bringing my degree into it, the HR side, nonprofit, for-profit, bring a very unique skill set to it that I want to keep continuing to give back to as long as I can.
That's awesome. Well, man, I got to tell you, it's been fun having you on here, and I always like to end these shows this way because it's fun for me because I stump everybody, but two, it gives you a chance to really give somebody some value that they can take with them as they continue in on their journey. So if you were to leave my audience with a phrase, a thought, a quote, something they could put in their toolbox or they're carrying in their tool pouch, that as they're going up against it and running up against life, and maybe they're at that spot to where they don't know how to make the next move or they're beating themselves up, what would be that phrase or saying that you'd say, take this with you and pull it out when you need it?
I'm sure it's probably been said on here 1,000 times, Donnie. It's the old Wayne Gretzky quote. Classic, I got to pull it out, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So when you're going through it, when it gets hard, think you can't do it anymore, you never know that next person you shake hands with is going to be the first client you land. You never know if that person walking down the mall that you go in and introduce yourself to and just strike up a conversation. I've got Stryker here down the road, a major company. That person in the mall could end up being a CEO, CFO there. You never know. So unless you go out there, you take that shot, you say hi to everybody, you're never going to win.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Patrick, I got to tell you, I really appreciate you being on the show today, man. I appreciate the information and everything you laid out for everybody, and thanks for sharing your journey with us. Any last words, parting thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. All right, brother. Well, don't let the world get too far ahead of you, man, but thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Donnie.
Guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.